Good evening and welcome to this week's edition of Tribune Sports Live. I'm Zach Steele. He's Chris Yao. And Chris, we are halfway through the season. Our area teams go 3-0 this week.
Another big week for our teams. It's amazing. Halfway through the season already. It seems like it's flown by. But we've had a good year so far, and this week was no different.
What stands out to you in this week?
Honestly, everybody sans Clay. Pinson and Hewitt both had big games, and they both came up big with wins.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the Hewitt Huskies and their long trip up to Newmarket and Buckhorn and a big victory there. We'll be back in just a moment.
Trussville Vision Care is now proud to offer sports vision training for athletes. This sports-specific training improves hand-eye coordination and reaction time. As a former college athlete, Dr. Steele knows how important perfect vision is to succeed on the athletic field. For athletes, 20/20 vision is not enough. Trussville Vision Care.
Welcome back. The Hewitt Huskies went up to Newmarket, Alabama, way up on the Tennessee line, and took on Buckhorn in a region game. It was a tough-fought match, Chris, but the Huskies come away with the victory.
Another big win for Hewitt Trussville. They just continue to stay on that roll that they've been on. Offensively, another good output by Connor Adair. Defensively, they actually played really well. Had a few hiccups here and there, but that's expected. Buckhorn's a very good football team. They are not a pushover. So to get a win up there on the road after a long trip, it's pretty impressive.
You mentioned Connor Adair. 3 touchdown passes Friday night. Was deadly accurate again against Buckhorn. He really is a difference maker for this team so far.
Oh, there's no question. And I feel like, obviously it's a different type of quarterback from what we've seen in the past from this type of offense. But Josh Floyd has done a good job of realizing what he has in Connor Adair and exploiting that superb accuracy as a passer.
And I think one of the things Josh Floyd and his staff are going to want to work on this week, and it's a good week to work on things, let's face it, they're taking on Center Point. They had some trouble running the ball against Buckhorn. Buckhorn was a little unorthodox with their defense, a lot of stunts, a lot of slants with their defensive line, a lot of run blitzes. So they had some trouble running the ball against them. So it may be one of these things where good time to work on some things for this offense.
Oh, it definitely is. Playing Center Point, will definitely be a good time to get their run game going and fix some mistakes up front. Try to play more as a cohesive unit on the line.
All right, so Center Point this week. It's the homecoming game for the Huskies. Big ball game for them as all the folks come back for this one. When we come back, we're going to talk about ClayChalkville, and they get back in the win column against Center Point. We'll be back in just a moment.
Jefferson Memorial Funeral Home and Gardens is home-owned and operated by the Seal family. I've known Eddie Seal and his son Adam for over 25 years. They're community-oriented and, more importantly, good folks who know how to take care of people in their time of need. That's how Jefferson Memorial became Trussville's funeral home and cemetery. Jefferson Memorial is located at 1591 Gadsden Highway. You can call them at 322-0543. Before your need arises, let Jefferson Memorial family take care of your family.
Welcome back to Tribune Sports Live. ClayChalkville, after an upset loss last week against Pinson Valley, comes back and they take out their frustrations on Center Point, Chris.
They did. ClayChalkville had another big game. They got back on track with a 40-20 win. The offense gets some points, obviously, after not scoring, only scoring 14 against Pinson Valley. So the offense gets back on track. Willie Miller has another solid game. Nicholas Jones, another big night for him. So, this was one of those weeks where you it was actually good that they were coming off of a loss because they didn't overlook the opponent.
Clay's defense continues to improve. They had some hiccups early on in the season. They played well enough to win the ball game against Pinson last week. They shut down Center Point this week, holding the quarterback Jacoby Trammell to just 12 of 35 passing. They shut down the run game. They did pretty much all they needed to do to win this ball game.
They did, and I think the strength of of Clay's defense is their secondary. So you're going to see that. You're going to see a lot more of the passing numbers not being as good for their opponents because that secondary is really, really good. And as long as the offense continues to score, I don't feel like, the defense isn't going to allow their opponents to outscore them. I just don't feel like that's going to happen.
Well, Clay steps out of region next week, and they'll take on a very good James Clemens team, one of the better teams in the 7A region, along with Hewitt. So that'll be an interesting ball game for them. They are at home in that one, so we'll keep a close eye on that one. When we come back, we're going to talk about Pinson Valley, who managed to avoid a letdown this past week against Walker.
Trustful Vision Care is now proud to offer sports vision training for athletes. This sports-specific training improves hand-eye coordination and reaction time. As a former college athlete, Dr. Steele knows how important perfect vision is to succeed on the athletic field. For athletes, 20/20 vision is not enough. Trustful Vision Care.
Welcome back to the show. Pinson Valley avoided a letdown this past week when they went up to Walker and got a big victory. Chris, great job by Matt Glover and his coaching staff to keep these kids focused.
Absolutely. Matt did a great job. He actually spoke with me after the game saying that his team had a fantastic week of practice. He was pleased with the way they prepared, and especially at the high school level, when you get a win like that over such a big rival, it typically turns into a letdown, but not this week. Pinson Valley's defense, my goodness. If you could have seen that game live, if you saw the game live, I was there. It was a bloodbath.
They held Walker to just 79 yards rushing in this ball game, and 50+ of those came on one play. So you're right, their defense has been really pretty good all year. A hiccup against Minor, but they've really looked stout all season.
Oh, there's no question that Pinson Valley defense, just like I said, earlier this year, that defensive line is one of the better defensive lines in this part of the country. Minor, not exactly the worst offensive team in the state, probably one of the best actually. So they continue to have big games. Their defensive line is just mauling offensive lines, and as long as they continue to do that, I see this Pinson team going very, very far this year.
Torrey Hendricks had a big night for Pinson, caught some short passes and made some moves, converted them into long gains. Pinson is on the road next week at a game they should win against Shades Valley. We'll keep an eye on that one as well. When we come back, we're going to have our Players of the Week and predictions. We'll be back in just a moment.
Jefferson Memorial Funeral Home and Gardens is home-owned and operated by the Seal family. I've known Eddie Seal and his son Adam for over 25 years. They're community-oriented and, more importantly, good folks who know how to take care of people in their time of need. That's how Jefferson Memorial became Trustful's funeral home and cemetery. Jefferson Memorial is located at 1591 Gadsden Highway. You can call them at 322-0543. Before your need arises, let Jefferson Memorial family take care of your family.
Welcome back, and let's hit our Players of the Week quickly, Chris. With Hewitt, we decided on Connor Adair, just another superb ball game for him.
3 touchdown passes, and he was fantastic as always, and he definitely deserves the honors.
Clay, we're going to go with Nicholas Jones, a great rushing ball game.
Yeah, he had a great game. The running game has been a little bit inconsistent for Clay, and Nicholas Jones did a good job this week of actually, continuing the progress that they've made.
We're going to give the Pinson game ball to the entire Pinson defense because they were so good as a unit this week.
Absolutely. I mean, you could give it to Torrey Hendricks, who had a great game. You could say a lot about every player, but this is the second week in a row that the entire Pinson defense has gotten the game ball because they deserve it.
Let's go to predictions now. We got a couple we feel like pretty easy ones this week. We'll start with Hewitt hosting Center Point. Homecoming game, Center Point doesn't have much. Hewitt, probably one of the best teams in the state at this point in 7A. Your thoughts on this one?
There are no thoughts. This is going to be one of those where Josh can name the score. It is homecoming, so I feel like it's going to be a pretty big win for Hewitt. I've got 48-12 Hewitt over Center Point.
I'm with you, but I don't think Center Point can keep them under 50. I like Hewitt 55-10 in this one. All right, let's skip over to Pinson at Shades Valley. Pinson seems to have it rolling here. Shades Valley, kind of not what they expected this year. They're, still struggling under a new regime. So your thoughts on this one?
I think it's still going to be a close game because I feel like Shades Valley does have they're very well coached, and you're going to see this continue throughout the rest of the year. This is going to be a theme. But Pinson Valley's defense is very good. Still going to give Shades Valley 21 points, but Pinson gets the win with 24.
Well, I like Pinson in this one too. I think it's close for the entire game. Pinson gets a couple of late scores, makes this one 28-12. Okay, Clay hosting James Clemens, a team in 7A that's a very good team. Your thoughts on this one?
James Clemens is their record doesn't show it, but they are a very good football team. ClayChalkville has their work cut out for them, but the bottom line is it's a long trip down here. They've not played well when they've come to the Birmingham area. James Clemens has not. So I feel like the offense keeps their momentum going. Willie Miller, Nicholas Jones, 30-24, ClayChalkville.
I like Clay in this one too, on a late field goal to win this ball game. I think Clemens coming over to play at ClayChalkville, that's not an easy place to play. That stadium is, everything's right on top of you. It's just a tough place, and they just having a war about them. They don't lose at home. Clay hasn't lost at home in a while, so I like Clay in this one. Late field goal, 31-30. All right, that's our show. We'll be back next week. We'll recap all these games for you and look forward to the next week's games as well. For Chris Yao, I'm Zach Steele. Good night, everybody.